Hey, what's up, people? Piz Al here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new Scream Factory Collector's Edition Blu-ray release for 1983's 10 to Midnight, starring Charles Bronson. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie as well as a review of this Blu-ray release. And when I first heard the announcement that Scream Factory was releasing a collector's edition Blu-ray of 10 to Midnight, I got really excited because I've always really enjoyed this movie. Because it stars Charles Bronson, and if you're familiar with my channel, you know I love Charles Bronson. Also, this movie, it's part slasher movie, it's part serial killer movie, it's part vigilante movie. It takes all of those three awesome subgenres, throws them into a blender, add a dash of sleaze, add a sprinkle of humor, a heaping helping of the Bronson hit puree, and 10 to Midnight is the glorious result. And 10 to Midnight stars Charles Bronson as a rough and rugged LA detective hot on the heels of a vicious serial killer who's picking off women one by one. But when the serial killer targets Charles Bronson's daughter, that makes it personal. And Charles Bronson sets out to do what Charles Bronson does best. And that's gets his man by any means necessary. And 10 to Midnight features a really interesting portrayal of a serial killer. Gene Davis plays a serial killer in this film, and he plays the killer with, he's got this almost childlike way about him. He's sexually confused. His murders are very much sexually driven. He does all of his killings completely in the nude, which kudos to Gene Davis because he spends a lot of this movie completely naked. He's also a really intelligent serial killer. He's actually modeled after Ted Bundy and what's the guy's Arthur Speck, maybe. For instance, early in the film, he goes to a movie theater, buys a ticket, goes inside, sits down next to a young woman, makes a complete ass out of himself, but he makes sure that he tells her his full name. She shoos him away. He goes to the bathroom, climbs out the window, goes off, kills a woman, comes back to the theater, climbs back in through the window just in time for the end of the movie, sits himself at the back of the theater so that the same woman can see him as she exits. He exits with her and continues having a conversation with her, basically creating an airtight alibi for this murder. This is such a smart serial killer in this film that he actually bests Charles Bronson to the point where, and this is another really interesting kind of spin that this movie takes on the kind of police procedural aspect of the movie. Charles Bronson actually sets out to frame the killer by planting evidence in his home. Charles Bronson is so assured of himself that this is the killer that he tries to frame him. Well, things don't quite work out that way. The last half of the movie is basically a good old-fashioned Charles Bronson vigilante movie. The killer sets his sights on Charles Bronson's daughter. And and even the end of the movie, the ending of this movie is also really, my hat is off to 10 to Midnight because it really takes some twists and turns that you don't see coming. Now, the whole thing with Bronson's character planting evidence on the killer, it kind of muddles the movie a little bit and kind of stalls the pacing right in the middle of the film, but still very interesting twist on the police procedural movie. And then the very end of the film, and I love the ending of this movie. It's so Bronson. I don't want to give anything away, but it's just so very, very Bronson. And 10 to Midnight is a really well-made film. The film was directed by J. Lee Thompson, who directed Guns of the Navarone. He directed Cape Fear. He directed a couple of Planet of the Apes movies. The guy was prolific. He was directing films into like his 70s. He directed a bunch of movies for Canon with Charles Bronson. Death Wish 4. Maybe, no, he didn't do Death Wish 5. He did Death Wish 4 for sure. Several other Cannon movies with Charles Bronson, but just prodigious body of work from Mr. Thompson. The screenplay, I think, is really strong. You've got a lot of good dialogue in this movie, surprisingly. The movie does have a sense of humor about itself, yet at the same time, it's pretty graphic. It's pretty savage, quite frankly. It is a Cannon movie, so there's plenty of sleaze thrown in there as well. And guys, don't worry. Yes, Gene Davis is naked pretty much throughout the entire movie, but we get plenty of female flesh on hand as well. So don't worry, guys. This was a Cannon movie after all. Great cast in this movie. I mean, Charles Bronson. I needn't say more. Andrew Stevens plays his partner in the film. He delivers a great performance. Gene Davis, I really enjoyed his performance as the killer. Again, really unique portrayal of a serial killer. Wilford Brimley.
Hi, I'm Wilford Brimley, and I've had diabetes for about 20 years.
Yes, that Wilford Brimley plays the police chief. The actress who played Charles Bronson's daughter in the film, her name escapes me. Great performance from her. A young Kelly Preston is in this film as well. I've always really enjoyed 10 to Midnight. Like I said, the movie takes all of my favorite subgenres, throws them into a blender, hits puree, throws in some sleaze, throws in some humor, throws in Bronson. I've always enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it. If you're a fan of Charles Bronson, you're going to dig this movie. If you're a fan of Cannon films from the 80s, you're going to dig this movie. I recommend it. If you haven't seen 10 to Midnight, go check out 10 to Midnight. This Blu-ray would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you are a fan of 10 to Midnight, you definitely want to look into picking up this Blu-ray and adding it to your collection. First, let's check out the presentation here. As with all of Scream Factory's Collector's Edition releases, it comes with a slipcase featuring some newly commissioned artwork of luckily it's only the killer's nude silhouette, but very nice artwork. The sleeve is reversible on the inside. I have reversed it, revealing the original poster art for 10 to Midnight. This release features a new 4K scan of the original camera negative. The picture quality I thought was absolutely fantastic. I would give it a solid 4 or 4.5 out of 5. The audio quality as well, great. I'd give it 4.5 out of 5 as well. As far as extras are concerned, first up, we get Producing Bronson. It's an interview with producer Lance Houle. It's 12 minutes and 41 seconds in length. Mr. Houle discusses how he got involved with 10 to Midnight, developing the screenplay, working with Cannon Pictures. He discusses working with Charles Bronson and what a great person Charles Bronson was. He discusses working with J. Lee Thompson and what a great filmmaker he was. He discusses how proud he is of the film, and he discusses his friendship with Bronson and actually chokes up at the end of the interview when talking about how near and dear Charles Bronson was to him. Very nice interview with Mr. Houle. Next up, we get Remembering Bronson with actor Robert F. Lyons. It's 6 minutes in length. Mr. Lyons discusses working with Charles Bronson, how Bronson was a man of few words and how much he loved his wife Jill, and more. A brief but nice interview with Mr. Lyons. Next up, we get Knife and Death with actress Gianna Tomasina. It's 6 minutes and 55 seconds in length. Ms. Tomasina discusses being a model before moving to California and auditioning for 10 to Midnight. She discusses being a big fan of Bronson and how nice he was to her on the set and how much fun she had making 10 to Midnight. Very nice interview with Ms. Tomasina. Next up, we have Charlie's Partner with actor Andrew Stevens. It's 10 minutes and 46 seconds in length. Mr. Stevens discusses working with Charles Bronson on Death Hunt, which is a badass movie. If you guys have not seen Death Hunt, seek out Death Hunt. Lee Majors and Charles Bronson. I needn't say more, but I will. Also, Carl Weathers is in that movie. Great flick. Go watch Death Hunt. Scream Factory, Shout Factory, release a Blu-ray of Death Hunt. He also discusses being offered the role in 10 to Midnight. He discusses working with Charles Bronson, J. Lee Thompson, Wilford Brimley, and the rest of the cast on the film. He calls Gene Davis fearless for his willingness to perform in the nude for most of the film. He discusses how reclusive Charles Bronson was, but how Bronson would open up to you if he felt like you were non-threatening or if he felt as if you weren't trying to get something from him. Very nice interview with Mr. Stevens. We get a theatrical trailer, radio spots, and an image gallery. We also get 2 audio commentaries, one with producer Pancho Kochner, casting director John Crowther, and film historian David Del Valle. The other commentary is with film historian and author Paul Talbot. I watched the film with the commentary by Mr. Talbot. Mr. Talbot is obsessed with Charles Bronson. He confesses that at the very beginning of the commentary. He is obsessed with Charles Bronson. He's written 2 books about Charles Bronson. I've read one of them, Bronson's Loose, The Making of the Death Wish Movies. Great book. Mr. Talbot is just such a wealth of knowledge and information about Charles Bronson and about the movies of Charles Bronson. It's great to listen to him talk about Bronson in Bronson movies. Whenever there's a commentary by him on a Bronson film, I know it's going to be a great, informative commentary. Great commentary by Mr. Talbot for 10 to Midnight. This is a very nice Blu-ray release from Scream Factory for 10 to Midnight. You got a very nice presentation here with the slipcase and the reversible sleeve. The picture quality and the sound quality are both fantastic, and we've got some really nice extras on here. And I've always really enjoyed the film overall. If you've not seen 10 to Midnight, I recommend it. Go check out 10 to Midnight and look into picking up this Blu-ray from Scream Factory. If you've seen 10 to Midnight, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. Please let me know what your favorite Charles Bronson canon movie of the 80s is down in the comment section below as well. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Join the $1 a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, Orc145626, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Mitch Odell, Farron Sutton, Craig Farrand, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Joseph Charlesworth, Chris Earls, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Tim Williams, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Mr. Bibby 86, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Cliff Hostetter, Kyle McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Lauren Dixon, Travis Davis, Dave Barnes, Jonathan Lundy, Chris Parsons, Chris Gonzalez, Trenton Bowser, Alan Scott, and Vic Corbin. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.